is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty. Asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
Hey, greetings. Welcome back to Soul Voices. I'm GriffinGamingRPG. Today is Saturday, December 7th, and I hope that you all are doing very well. We are at the end of the month, 12 months in, about to wrap up 2024, and I hope you guys are doing well wherever you may be. There's a lot that I'd like to talk to you guys about today. We're going to cover 3 topics today, something from Spectrum, something from Reddit, and then something just kind of like a conversation I want to have toward the end of the show today, because I'm going to be on the Astropub show this afternoon for the Captain's Table. So I'm going to probably try to wrap the show up a little bit earlier than usual. But I'm going to try and get as many conversations in as possible. And I hope that you guys will join me by clicking on the link that will pop up that will bring you to our Discord, and it'll bring you to a queue, little green room, bring you in, and you can share your thoughts on the topics that I'm bringing up today from those different areas, Spectrum, Reddit, and whatever else we talk about. But I hope you guys are doing well. So much has been going on. We just wrapped up with IAE, and we are in the throes of our testing still for those who have access for 4.0. And so we hope that you guys are getting an opportunity. Some of you guys are getting a chance to try it out, get in there, test it. A lot of us, I know, are still outside watching from the outside, seeing what's going on. But there's been progress. I was in last night and played for a couple hours last night, and surprisingly, everything ran smooth, but we'll see how it goes with the continued patches. Today's show is called Dismissed and Delighted. And I want to talk about those feelings, the times when sometimes people may feel like they're being dismissed and not being heard, and the things that they share maybe coming from a very genuine space, concern, frustration, aggravation, but then also being delighted. And this is all going to kind of come together more for the third topic that we're talking about today. So one of the things about this show is that we want people to be able to come on. This is one of our community shows. We want people to come on and express their opinions. Sometimes you may feel like your opinion is contrary to most people, but we still want to hear that opinion. We need to have balance in everything, and everything can't be all one side or the other side. You have to find ways to hear both sides and then hopefully come to better conclusions. Hopefully that's one of the goals of our show, that we help people have a better understanding of what's going on with the development of Star Citizen, and helping folks navigate through that, because it can be tough, but we also want people to enjoy the ride. So let's get into the first topic that I have today. I had already started on this the other day, and then this morning I saw an article that kind of re-amplified some more details that I didn't know about. So this isn't the post that I'm thinking about, but this is the original post that I was going to go to. So let me go ahead and get us jumped in here for our first topic for today. This was on Spectrum, and it was done by CaptainGoose. And the title of this was, "Do They Want People to Stop Playing?" One of the things that content creators can be known for and can be either applauded for or talked about is sometimes the titles that we call clickbait. They could be hyperbolic, they could be a bit over the top, they could be hyped. Right, hype is the something that is designed to draw you in, get you interested, or get you excited about something, right? And that could be good or bad, but sometimes titles are the way we get people's attention. And so when I first saw this title, "Do They Want People to Stop Playing?" I'm like, well, since this is on Spectrum, I guess they're referring to CIG, and do they want people to stop playing? Well, no, they wouldn't want people to stop playing, because if people stop playing, they won't have a job. So, but I get the rhetorical question. There's something here that they're saying might make people decide that they might want to stop playing the game. So let me read some of this to you guys. And this was by CaptainGoose, as I said. It says, "I mean, seriously, you just sold us a $1,000 ship, and days later, you tell people they can't use it because each torp is 1 million AUEC. I mean, this is the kind of thing that trolls say and people just laugh off. Trolls say and people just laugh off. Not something CIG does. And just to clarify, I haven't used torps or missiles in well over a year. Rather use guns. Buggy, broken. Only recently do they seem to hit and do some damage. Still not worth it in my opinion. But the idea is so ridiculous, so counterproductive. CIG wants to know why people claim ships 90% of the time. Because everything is broken, buggy all the time. Playing requires true effort and dedication, and you implement a brutal impediment to playing with ships that depend on torps and missiles that completely negates their purpose. Did CIG just hire an economist? Does that man not understand the difference between a game and the real price of a Patriot missile or Javelin? Let people play. Let us have fun. The game is bad enough as it is with all the bugs, problems, development, and so on. Maybe, just maybe, leave the extremely unpopular decisions such as this one for when the price of a single torp isn't the equivalent of 100 hours of playing to buy it back. Just a thought. ETA? Yes, facepalm some more. That's how we ended up with 1 million AUEC torps and 500,000 K missiles. Okay. So some of you may or may not know, they have been doing changes in the game, economic changes. In fact, CIG had told us that the economic team was going to begin implementing some of their new ideas for 4.0. And when we first got 4.0, we didn't see any drastic changes in there. Then we saw some prices change for torps when the Polaris came out, or right before the Polaris came out. But more recently, there have been other changes that have taken place in the game, and some of it is in relation to torps and missiles. But there's also been adjustments to the amount of money that you gain on missions now. They've increased. People have been asking for the longest time, or felt frustrated, saying, well, you're doing these missions, but man, you're only got these super low payouts, and it's not even worth doing it. Well, they also just increased those as well. So my question to you is, what are your feelings about this? This is something that CIG has said was coming for quite a while. It's not new. And maybe to some people it is new. I'm sure there are plenty of people who have become a part of the Star Citizen community and maybe were not completely aware that these type of adjustments would be coming, and maybe they feel that they're too dramatic in the case of the game being in the current state that it's in. So come in and give me your thoughts. You guys can click on the link. Of course, we'd love to hear from you and hear what your ideas and thoughts are on that. And I've just brought Pops in Space in with me. And Pops, how are you?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm doing good.
Good. All right. Great afternoon. This was my thought on it. Mm-hmm. The price of a torp being that high is that they really want you to think about the cost of going into battle. Just, I mean, if you're trying to rob somebody and your torque cost $1 million and the cargo on a, I don't know, let's say a C1 is worth 700, it's or equal value. Is it worth you firing that torp at it? No, it's not.
Okay.
So to me, it was just really to get you to think about the cost of pirating, do things a different way than just explode ships and running, be a little bit more strategic in your attack and, kind of like put that mindset into people. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Okay. Do you think that this is just, do you think that this is just kind of testing the waters? Because a lot of times when things get implemented, I think this is a difficult thing for players sometimes. Something comes into the game and there is an immediate feeling of this is the way it's going to be versus this is what we're testing to see how gameplay responds to it. Is it too drastic? Is it too little? I mean, do you think that number will hold or do you think that number will probably adjust?
I mean, like the med beds, we all went through the med bed thing and, they're moving that up and down in the distance and so on. So I don't think it's set in stone yet.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to get that until we get closer to 1.0 to, to 1.
Okay.
So I don't really see a need for panic.
Okay.
I really don't.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Pops. Appreciate you.
Okay.
All righty. I think next up was Togi, I think. Excuse me. Hey, Togi. How are you? Pardon my belch.
What up?
How are you?
Oh, chilling.
You're chilling like a villain. Well, or like a pirate, if nothing else.
I hope you got lots of money. I don't know. To me, this is one of those things where CIG isn't like the mission payout isn't the only money that you make on a mission. Right? There's a lot of ways to extract more value, especially out of combat missions. If you strip and salvage an Idris,
yeah,
you make a lot of money.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Is it 14 million? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the current reload on a Polaris. A full reload is 14 mil.
Yeah. You bring up an interesting observation because I didn't give consideration to that. CIG has kind of been saying recently, trying to expand the player base to understand that it's that idea of salvaging, clearing a ship out, taking everything out, that might actually be either for yourself, like if I get a component, there's value there. But if I'm able to disable this ship, I might launch I'm picking a random number. Let's say it costs $200,000 to fire this particular torp. But if we get it and I salvage, or well, not salvage, but I strip it, take stuff out, I walk away with 8 million, in whatever. That becomes the offset versus if you're just worried about doing one thing but not gaining anything from whatever it is you do other than pleasure. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with pleasure, but there is an economic gain that you can gain that would offset it. But do you think players are there yet, or do you think that they're...
I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
Is that you have people who only want to just fight the Idris.
Yeah.
And there is no way that you can do that profitably.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that CIG needs to realize that there isn't a full economy yet, and that the timing of this, as usual, is bad, because it's right after it came out and you sold it. You sold it where the torps were a lot less.
Yeah.
If there was things in where you could take out the Idris and then at the very least sell that location to somebody. So if somebody else wants to come out, you could cover most of the cost
for it. Yeah.
But there's just really no way to do that.
Yeah.
And I think CIG kind of needs to dial some of this stuff back. Let people have fun so that they continue to test.
Okay. Okay.
And once those systems are actually there, then let's start balancing.
Yeah. I don't know which ships. I know there are some ships where salvaging components is a real thing, and there's some ships where, they're not, you can't pull the components out of them and stuff. And I can see how that could be a frustration. If I happen to grab I'm just using a vulture, for example, I know I can strip the components out of a vulture. Versus if it's a Connie, I'm up the creek, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get anything out of it. And there may not be, and because that's not an equal thing across the board, some players, honestly, I can see players, especially if they're fairly new, they wouldn't know. Don't screw the Connie. We're not going to get any money out of that. We might get some money out of this ship. So you're saying that let's have all the mechanics in place so that,
or at the very least, I'm not sure if the Idris even spawns with cargo.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing bounties right now, most of the profit that you make from bounties is taking the cargo off of cargo ships.
Yeah. I don't think the Idris spawns with anything on it. Maybe somebody in chat knows. But yeah, that would make it worthwhile for sure if you got a good load off of it.
Especially if you made some some high value load, highly value dense cargo on it.
Yep.
So it wasn't a lot of boxes to take.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, I like that. All right, Togi, thank you, brother.
Yep.
Alrighty, that's a good suggestion. I don't know if it was Fist or Almost, so I'm going to go with A versus F this time and bring Almost in first. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Morning, sir. I wanted to say I actually agree a little bit with Togi on like the value of stripping a ship. The whole torpedo thing, I personally think it is a little bit expensive, but at the same time, it is a trial and error. This is an alpha after all. But I think that's more of to reel in people frivolously throwing torps at things just cause. Let's say you want to troll. You're not a pirate. You're just a troll. You just want to go out looking for some fun at other people's expenses. What is it to me if I want to troll people, and it's still fairly easy to make money, but let's say the torpedoes were 200,000 a pop. To me that sounds reasonable, but 200,000 isn't hard to come by. And this is my example. Maybe about a little less than a year ago, 8-9 months ago, I met a new player, brand new player to Star Citizen. He had just the starter package, and he was looking for somebody to party up with. He said he specifically said in the chat that he wanted to work on a reclaimer. So I had a reclaimer. It was a new guy. I wanted to help him out. So we actually spent like 2 or 3 days in the reclaimer, splitting profits, right? And his first ship that he bought was a reclaimer. Then so I started helping him on his reclaimer because he started messaging me because he's on my friends list now. So then his second ship he bought was an 890 jump. Interesting, right? I'm not thinking. I was like, man, he really going for the expensive stuff. You know what he was doing? On cooldown, he was taking out the 890 and stripping it. And then putting in an insurance claim for it. He was making I don't know the maximum he was making off of each one, but I know for each load he said he was making 7 to 8 million stripping his 890. But he also told me that the reclaimer couldn't hold everything that the 890 had to offer. So you could so this was a guy brand new to Star Citizen. And figured out how to make a lot of money very quickly. You see what I'm saying? So the torpedoes being 20-something million to fill up your Polaris, people are going to figure out how to get that pay. But if you're wanting to go around and troll, that's how I kind of look at it. I look at it like, if you want to go around trolling people, you're really definitely going to have to think about that price. If you want to go testing with the Polaris, right? Then you can figure out ways to make that money.
Do you think that I'm not suggesting this, guys, so please don't think I'm suggesting this is the way the game should play. I'm just thinking about options as I'm listening to what Almost is saying and what Togi said. Is the Polaris a single owner, single responsibility ship?
No, I think that's an org ship. And I don't mean like a person. I mean that in the responsibilities of run a Polaris, similar to like how you would run a business. I don't like.
That's the thing that I'm
it should be
wondering.
People feeding into the price. It shouldn't be one person paying it out. It should be multiple people feeding into the cost of upkeep.
Yeah, and I know I'm using the Polaris as an extreme, guys, because it's the capital that we have, but I could say that about a lot of other ships in the game, too. I could say the same thing about a Hammerhead or whatever. If it doesn't have to be about torpedoes, it may be about fuel costs. It could be about general maintenance and repair of a ship. And so I wonder whether or not this becomes a part of a change in how we see ships in the game. In fact, tomorrow, guys, we're doing a show called FAFO, Fly Around and Find Out, where we're going to be talking about some of this stuff. But Almost, I'm wondering if whether or not, you know, when I get in my ship, and I'm just picking a random ship, you know, I've got an A2. When I get in my A2, I think of it as my A2, and I think of it as me going out and doing whatever. But it takes a crew to run that ship in the sense of, you know, when it's fully what it's supposed to be. And is the financial responsibility for that ship, does it fall on me at that point? Or because that is a, you know, I got 5 gunners, I've got somebody being a bombardier, I've got a co-pilot. Everybody benefits in the reward of whatever that ship does. Do certain ships start to become a collective responsibility versus an individual responsibility? And you just kind of responded to what I was just saying. And I was just thinking about that because it's, as this starts to evolve and CIG's plans start to unfold, there may be some dynamics for us to start reconsidering too, if that's the direction that they're leading us toward.
I think that's more of a contextual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in an org, I feel like, yeah, it is a group responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like going out with randoms, that's like inviting somebody out on a date. You're expected to pay because you're the one that did the invite.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking for people to employ, then I'm responsible for the ship.
Mm-hmm.
However, I will say, because I've done this with mining and all that stuff,
Uh-huh.
I take out whatever repairs or that comes off the top.
Okay.
Whatever for the ship's function that comes
Right.
off the top first, and
Right.
then whatever the net profits are from afterwards is
Right.
what we split evenly.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, buddy. Appreciate that.
All right, cool.
Good thoughts. Let me bring Fist to Face in. Fist, you there?
Yes, sir. I have a suggestion.
Okay.
All right. You know, Almost Over and Togi and as well as, you know, Pops made some good
Mhm.
points. And I really didn't think about the point of the gameplay loop of salvaging coming into play with the Idris and shooting off a torp. But one of the things that I noticed that, you know, as we're discussing this is that obviously you're not just going to shoot one torp at a Idris because first of all, that one torp is not going to get through. So yeah, you're going to wind up spending a lot of money going, you know, back and forth to, you know, rearm. But I think
Will you? Let me ask you a question. Will you? Because CIG did a great outline recently of what it meant to start moving into capital ship battle, right?
Okay.
And remember, one of the things that they highlighted was that there's a collective operation of multiple ships.
Right.
That if you have things structured a certain way, where you've got fighters and you've got some other escorts and these other ships that are coming in to soften up that Idris, that when that Polaris launches, instead of having to launch 8 torpedoes, maybe they only have to launch 2, right? So if you're out there soloing, to your point, yeah, you may be out there, you know, unloading your barrage,
and you're
right?
correct.
Right.
You're correct, right?
So I'm just saying that does offset it, right? If you come the right way, you know what I'm saying?
If you come the right way, do that, but
you can minimize your expense.
How many people really do that?
Well, is that where they're trying to get us to go, right?
And you're right. Now, with that point being there, what Togi was talking about, the other gameplay loop of salvaging and so on and so forth, and hauling stuff out. Obviously, all of these gameplay loops are not fully fleshed out. Could CIG, because here's one thing that I've always said about them, that's a bane and a boon for them, is their video marketing department, right? Whenever they put out a video on YouTube, this ship, or this whatever, it's amazing, right? We could probably all agree on that. I would say, let's say, as a suggestion, CIG, put your talents to use. Put out a video showing a gameplay loop, right, of this battle, and then your salvagers come in, right? Show that. And maybe folks can get a better idea as to the way in which you envision the game.
Yeah, I think they've started doing that a little bit. I'll give you an example. I remember I was a big Hull C fan, and when the Hull C came out, they did the commercial for it. And when they did it, that was the first time they showed that entire thing, that when the Hull C came out, it was being escorted the whole time. Right. So I get what you're saying. So you can subconsciously start putting those things in people's minds if they start to see when this ship goes out, there's a coordination effort. You just don't have all these ships flying around, but that there's actually an effort, right, to support whatever that ship is that's going out, if it's a capital or if it's a major ship in the game. Because I think that we are a little bit used to these ships going out by themselves and doing things, and I think. And not just so much as a commercial, but really have some type of narrative behind it, in a sense, a little bit more than just it being, oh man, the glitz and glam, bing, bang, boom, explosions here, explosions there. Right. You got your crew, they go out, hey, we're going out, taking this on, boom, we fire upon it, we celebrate, all right, soldier, whoever, call in the wrecking crew, come in and clean up, and then you show, all right, folks, we getting paid out. Okay. Boom. Okay. You know what I mean? Okay. That's fair. That's fair. All right, bro. Thank you very much. All right. Let's bring in Volt Dusty, and then we're going to get two more, and then we're going to go to our next topic. Volt, you there?
Yep.
How are you?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good.
So, mostly talking about the missile changes, right?
Yeah, that was I'll put it back up on screen real quick because that was kind of the thing that started the conversation, talking about this news thing that they're doing. Yes.
So, from my point of view, it's like, I think what they put it out. We have Zenith. We have the Safe Stanton event. It comes out with the Idris all going on, and so we get to try it out. But I think they looked at it and they saw that it's like, okay, now we're also getting a couple of issues. Some people are just using the ship, and then of course, when it first came out, you couldn't restock it sometimes, and that's still an issue. So you have the issue of not being able to restock it, so you had to claim it. So they needed to fix that, which I think they did, because now it's available. The missiles, or the torps at least, are available in shops. But I mean, it's like, it kind of feels like this issue came about way too early. It feels like, because they instantly changed missions to start giving out more money now. Right. Like for player bounties, it's like 150K.
Right.
So it's like we're not really losing out on much. It's just trying to rebalance the economy now, where it's like, if you start using these missiles over and over again, you can go through like multiple bounty missions, build up a buffer. But if you use up that buffer, you then have to go out again and do missions without missiles or without torps. I think it's just mostly trying to prep the economy. Like people are saying, it's like people are always asking, like, get features in, get things in, but it's like when something changes, they're like, why did you change it? Why did you nerf it? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? It's like so many things, like giving the pilot weapons or the pilot weapons on the Paladin. That was like a big thing people were crying about, and it's like, I recently flew my Corsair in the EPTU with the nerf still going on, quote unquote. And my God, I could not turn that thing for the life of me. It has a horrible turning radius. And the Connie's the same way. I have a feeling the Paladin's going to be just as bad, and it's going to be hard to maneuver that thing. I flew a Redeemer because I got the Paladin, and you get a Redeemer as a loner. The Redeemer feels really good to fly and kind of like a little bit heavier of like a Vanguard. And so when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, they probably wanted to make the Redeemer more of what it was, but it's like they're making changes to prep, to get people ready, because these changes don't happen overnight. It's not like it's going to be an instant change, economies online. It's like, no, they're going to set things up, see how it affects the economy, then add in other things and see, like, slowly add things in. Because if they instantly gave us an economy, well, then people aren't going to know how to react. They have to slowly give us these things and see how the community reacts to it and see how that they can make it a good economy, because it's not like any other game. We've gotten so used to being able to make millions of AUEC really quickly, and like people bought ships over that. And so when salvage was like a big thing, and it's like when that crashes, people are going to go like, why'd you nerf the Reclaimer? Why'd you nerf the Vulture? Why'd you nerf this and that? It's just having to set up, slowly drip feeding us this economy, and like going to the bigger and bigger ships. You should be losing money when you do a cap ship battle, because it's a massive expense on both your end and the other person's. That I think what they're trying to do is set us up for these cap ship battles to be really expensive, and then we're going to get hacking gameplay, and hopefully that'll bring stuff to not only bring out the Legionnaire, but also bring out the Herald, and give us more data running and computers, where we're more looking for information and how to assault something than just throw like 5 size 10 torps at it.
A random thing. I think to your point, I don't think the cap battles have to be losing money, because I think something you said earlier leans toward being prepared for capital battles, right? You were talking about the fact of, going out and doing certain missions. The economy's in a different space now. Being that an org or a group of people, even individuals, have enough money that they can finance doing a capital battle. And so you don't have, what was discount prices basically in the past for torpedoes. You're getting numbers now that are going to make people, first of all, consider my target value. I think that Togi mentioned something earlier that I thought was really valuable, is the fact that, let's say we disable this particular ship. If my torp costs me $1 million, but there are 40 million or 30 million in resources and components and everything else, then that $1 million doesn't seem so hard. But if, I disable this ship and I spent 3 million to disable it, but then I go aboard and the components and stuff only equal out to 370,000 and there's no cargo, then it feels very empty, right? And we know CIG is not moving away from, but they're leaning more toward disabling vehicles more than destroying them. So I think you're correct in the sense of that they're bringing these elements in. These are not new ideas. They've been around for a long time. I think the question is, some people are, and I can understand some people feeling about timing. If you're going to introduce certain things, you want to make sure that there are counters. And I think you mentioned the counter that they did, even though increased numbers with missiles and torps, they've also increased the amount of money that you can make doing missions substantially. And so we'll have to see. I think this is all testing still. I don't think that any of this is written in stone. just so you guys, in case you didn't know this, that when you reclaim your ships will be now coming without the torps in them and missiles. This is not new either. The idea of insurance was supposed to be that you get your ship back. It did not mean that it came back fully loaded. And so ordinances like that will be things that, you know, you will have to pick and choose and say, this is what I want to put aboard my ship. And maybe later on with the other levels of insurance, that will change too. And I'm sure that there are going to be some people who've been so used to, you know, self-destructing a ship or leaving a ship and then just going back and reclaiming it and everything is back. That might feel a certain kind of way, but I want to assure you, this is not something that just flew out of the air in the sense of planning. Now, it may have popped up suddenly, but CIG had talked about this quite a while back. And so it's just, again, just getting implemented into the game, you know?
Yeah, and when it comes to stuff like this, like I was saying, they need to slowly drip feed us this so that we get used to it. Because imagine if one day they were just like, we went from what we have now in live, we went instantly to insurance and we can't get our missiles back and all this stuff. Like imagine the hate to that. It's like even with master modes, we're seeing like it was such a drastic change that a lot of people had a very visceral reaction to it. A very powerful reaction to it. And so now they're like slowly bringing us back. They're like starting to change it because they are now realizing, okay, master modes did a lot of things that we wanted it to, but it also didn't solve some things. So now we're adding this in, like the distances they were mentioning with quantum. It's like they are adding, it's iterative. It's always changing. Like they said yesterday, it's like, the only thing in this whole development is that everything is changing. The only constant is change.
Okay.
And so, like, they have to change us and get us ready for this. Because the veteran players are what backed this game. And so if they're not ready, if they can't teach, if they're learning these things alongside the new players, then you don't really have the whole point of doing this whole open beta or open alpha development is not really worthwhile. It would have been just better to put their heads down, not mention anything, and then come out with a game. Well, if they're just going to have us learn everything from the start.
It's tough. It's a tough decision because there's another group of people who said we've been waiting 13 years, bring it on. And then there are other people who have gotten so used to the game being a certain kind of way that the transition is difficult for them, you know. But my point is that this is not new. This has been around for a long time and it's just getting implemented. And I think that the newer players will be kind of a little bit shocked but they will adapt probably better than the older players, because I think the older players are the ones who will have a much more difficult time with the changes because they've been playing the game a certain way for such a long period of time. But we want to remind them, just like insurance, just like weapons and the economy, that stuff's about to change. And they've told us 4.0, they said this. And maybe this is one of the things that's bad about when people only watch ISC and don't watch SCL. They said at 4.0, the economy team that's been working over the past year was going to begin implementing this stuff. They said this. And I guess there's always this feeling that it's going to be the other, that somebody else is going to get affected and not me. I am my brain is prepared for all my stuff to get wrecked. It is, because it's going to happen. There's certain things I know that will probably stay the same, but there's a lot of stuff that's still going to change. I got to get some more people in vote because I got to get past the question, but thank you for stopping in, buddy. Okay. Let me bring in Kai. Oh, Kai Zin's next. Kai and then Red. Then I'm going to move on for real because I'm running behind already. Hey, Kai.
What up, brother? How you doing?
You? I'm doing good.
I find this entire issue extremely concerning because this marks the first time that CIG has ever sold a new shiny and then made changes to make that new shiny less good. Oh, wait, no, they do this every time. Why are people confused?
What new shiny?
Why are people
what new shiny? What?
Well, when they sell the ship and then make changes, and then now people are like, well, it's less good. And it's like, well, they just sold it. Yeah. And then they're going to sell the next thing. Like, this is not anything new. And this is not anything like, this is part of the development process. I think for people to be surprised that they just got done selling this ship for a large amount of real world cash and then immediately make changes to certain aspects of the game, which makes that ship less attractive. is kind of like being angry at politicians for not keeping their promises. Like, it happens every time. How is this a surprise? If you're either A, buy into the process and just let go and let God, just kind of just let Jesus take the wheel and hope you don't get a DUI, or get super butthurt about everything, in which case stop giving them money. But like, you don't do both. That just makes you look like a loser. Like, either say, I put this out, oh, they nerfed it, like, oh my god, they nerfed the ion, oh my god, they nerfed this, oh my god, they nerfed like 9 million things in a row. And then go, well, I hope in the next year, because let's be honest, we're going to have boots on Mars before this game launches. So, like, say, hey, we got plenty of time. Hopefully, in the wheel of shit, it will come back around to being overpowered and awesome again. And just, I still own an Ion. So what? I think it looks cool. Maybe it'll be good someday. Don't get butthurt over the day-to-day changes of an alpha. It's all bullshit. Oh my god, because the changes in prices of torpedoes, I'm gonna lose money. So they're gonna wipe your money out. Who cares? Just have fun with what you're having fun with. Play around, and if it gets to the point where it's bumming you out, go play a finished launched game and have fun. But like, this is a playground, and this is their development, and this is their thing that you're just along for the ride for. And if it gives you joy, God bless, and take that joy. Take whatever joy you can get out of this life. If it doesn't give you joy, go do something else and check back in 6 months, and maybe it'll be fun for you again. It's not that deep. Don't let your blood pressure get hot over a game in alpha.
Okay. Good advice.
Laters.
Good advice. Hey, bro, thank you. All right, last but not least, Red Bear. Red, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
I just melted my fleet over this. I mean, just was awful.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure you did.
Yeah. So no. I kind of agree with Kai on if this gets to you, play in a different game and be relaxed. It will be eventually okay.
Yeah.
I still remember in the days that we had the .2.x, we had like if we change his components or whatever, or weapons, and we had only weapons, I think, and our weapons got destroyed. We got default weapons back again, so we had to buy the weapons back and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
People seem to forget that. That was a lot harsher back then. Then they gave us the default loadout for a long time, so we got very quickly used to it. And till today, and now they try to slowly dial it back again, how they intended. And change is, and especially negative change, always gets resistance, like right now. And people don't like that, and I understand, but we have to adapt again to a new gameplay. And if you play the old Wing Commander series, you saw that they always, if they battle a capital ship, they always take out the turrets, the shields, and then the bombers came in to finish it off.
Yeah.
Well, I think the vision is kind of clear, what they said in one of the ISCs, that they want to have this vision again. The fighters do something, the heavy fighters do something, and then the big boys gonna finish the other capital off.
Yeah. I liked the show that they did on the IE. I think it was the second one, where they started talking about why the roles of different ships will be important to come together to make those fights so much easier, right? I mean and I'm hoping that players embrace that. I know, because you and I have had this conversation about solo and multi-crew, right? And even if it's not multi-crew, just multiplayer in general, that idea of collectively working together to do something. And I think that I've said this before, the gaming industry has kind of gotten us all into finding a meta and then finding what is the best thing to do everything. And CIG is kind of dismantling that a little bit. and breaking it down and saying this particular ship is good in particular for this thing. It can do other things, but this is what it's really for. And I think that if backers, and I was just having this conversation the other day with some people about buying based on role versus buying based on stats. And I don't get me wrong, stats are important because stats are part of the role, right?
Yes.
But I think that the idea of when we talk about two ships and CIG this is kind of a negative, because I remember the first time we saw that Idris battle that they did. It was two Idrises, right? And first of all, they were two suitors out there by themselves, which was kind of, not what you would think would happen. But they had a couple fighters that they launched, and they fought each other a little bit. But the real idea is more of when we see, a Idris with two hammerheads and a Polaris, and a squadron of fighter, you know what I mean? Where there's all these different ships working together. And I think Fist's idea earlier of starting to say, how can you showcase that so that in the minds of players, they start to see when you're going to have a capital battle, this is what you got to bring, you got to bring not a knife to the gunfight. You got to bring the right stuff, you know what I mean, to the gunfight. So I'm hoping that, as a community, we start to move toward that a little bit more, and people start to understand it. And at CIG accommodate people so that they can step into it and not feel, because some people feel forced, but I don't think it's a matter of being forced. I think it's a matter of this is what the design of the game is, and if you want to play this game, you got to be willing to step into that, but you and I have had these conversations before in the past. So
as soon as I hear people saying I'm being forced, I mean, if you want this gameplay, then you force yourself into that. And I think with the coming with crafting, which is going to be very important to craft maybe also torpedoes, missiles, etc.
Oh, that'd be cool. That would be really cool.
Yeah, then a minus will be very important at that point, because
that's a great point.
Then you get like a whole game loop in that regard.
That's a great point.
I think people miss that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't even think about ordnances, being able to craft that type of stuff. That would be tremendous. Yeah, it'd be a great arms dealer, right? That'd be so cool.
It will be nice if they have an in-between. Turn on some DCs, which are kind of useless at the moment. Put into crafting fabric.
I love that. I love
that.
that.
Go bring their materials and craft some missiles or torpedoes.
That'd be amazing. That would be amazing. All right, buddy.
I think that would help a lot.
I think so too. Thanks a lot. That's a great suggestion. I think that would be awesome. Okay. We got through that one, guys. As I said earlier, thank you guys for stepping in, and for those who came in today, and for those of you who are here now, I hope you guys are enjoying the conversation. We've got to get to our second one. Like I said, I've got to go on to the captain's table this afternoon, so I'm going to probably wrap up a little bit before the top of the hour, but I want to get into these topics that we have for today. So let's go to our second topic. The sky is falling. 2025, a most interesting year for Star Citizen. Did I put this person's name up? Oh my God. Because I try to give people credit for their thing. Hang on a second, guys. Oh my goodness. I forgot to put down this person who wrote this thread. Is this it here? Yeah, this is it here. I always want to give credit to the people whose content helps us do this show. It is by Bushboy 2000. Bushboy 2000. And actually, this is part of a conversation, and I really just want to kind of get you guys' thoughts on what Bushboy shares in this particular thread. Let me get my screens right here. Okay, so check this out. Get the popcorn out. Calder's Investment Group have an option to withdraw most, if not all, of their investment plus some interest. This is for 2025, mind you. Some of you all know that there was an option and some other stuff going on in 2025 with CIG. The Calder's Group is the people who advanced them some money, particularly for marketing and promotion. Which is really interesting. I didn't think about this, but with CIG wanting to put Squadron 42 out in 2026, the timing on this is actually perfect, that they've given them this money so that they could do marketing. I didn't really connect that dot until just now. Another point here, new citizen enlistment is down in 2023 and 2024. For those of you who don't know, we've had less people joining up over the last year or two. In fact, I know for sure this year, and he says last year too, so that could be true. Sales are down for 2024. They mean Squadron. I didn't write that, y'all. That wasn't me. Squadron 42 is still delayed. No surprise for most people. Red Stanton is just as messier Stanton. Oh, Pyro. I get it now. Sorry, I missed that. Red Stanton is just as messy. It should be messy as Stanton. Messier Stanton. Servers, tick rates, bugs, gameplay, flight models, etc., are just getting worse. Backer confidence, new and old, is waning and criticism is rising. I think that latter part, there's some truth there. I think the criticism is rising. I do think that backer confidence for many people is waning for some people. I think some people are really not feeling very certain about the future of where things are going, or just unsure, Yeah. So a lot of this stuff here is pretty relevant. I don't think there's anything here that I would say that probably isn't true. But let me read a little bit more for you. There have been some content creators who've been putting out things here. And I think there are people who are putting things out there because they're just putting those things out there because, first of all, it draws attention. And secondly, they may feel a certain kind of way about the development. And you'll see, things like this, right? And look at the difference in how this is being phrased, right? The beginning of the end. How many times have I seen this chart of CIG's income for the year, and the profits have foretold that the company is going to fold within the next year? I can't even tell you, but beginning of the end, funding in 2024. They're like $10 million or $15 million less than they were last year. Whatever. Okay. Then you've got people who are a little bit more introspective, who are actually asking, I think, a genuine question, because I've watched these shows and I think that they're asking the genuine question. Is it really over? Based on what we're seeing, is this really what's going on, or is it something else, right? So I think you've got both of those type of content creators out there that are putting out things for the game. This was an article that came out in MMORPG, that famous magazine that keeps up with Star Citizen from time to time. Star Citizen, check out the headline here. Star Citizen, which just hit $750 million, a crowdfunding record, reportedly hit by new layoffs. There's this statement of, wow, look at what they've done. And then there's this other statement of like, wow, look what they've done, right behind it. And then the byline on this, and Fastcard just put the link in for you if you guys want to read the article. It says, by this time, we know that it is a difficult time to be working in the games industry. Recent reports are saying that Star Citizen developer Cloud Imperium Games is one of the latest to be hit with layoffs and cuts. Now, if you just read that one line there that was with the picture, it'd be very easy to say, wow, well, man, what's going on with Cloud Imperium? But if you continue reading the article, this is what it says. The reports come from Insider Gaming, which cited the former employee's post on X and confirmed with their own sources Cloud Imperium Games has been letting some of its staff go these past couple of days. And that while the numbers are reportedly about a dozen, and mostly in Q&A, none of the figures have been confirmed. Wow. This latest report follows one from earlier this year where key members of the team, including the game director and some other staff, were let go. CIG responded to us to confirm that those layoffs and that there was relocation and restructuring were the factors, as well as what seems to be the return to office mandates. Star Citizen recently reached a new crowdfunding total, crossing $750 million. They confirmed that this new record at the IAE event. Now, this is really, to me, this was just such an interesting piece here. Because they flamed us at the beginning with the $750 million to blow our minds, right? That there's some game that's made this much money, and yet and still they made layoffs. That's basically what they're implying, right? That, they made all this money, but they did, they had all this money, but then they got hit by layoffs. What's up with that? But then when you read the details, a dozen people, and most of them were Q&A. And we know that this last year has been a big push toward Pyro, right? And we know that that's where their emphasis has been, and they need testers to come in to do that, right? But yet and still, what they also don't tell you is that if you go to the CIG website, there are probably right now over 60 open slots available for hiring. So this idea that CIG is in some way or other being hit hard, at least that's what it implies, is all a matter of how you read it, right? And in game development, people come and go. They also referenced all the way back to last year. Here's the other thing that's interesting. They referenced all the way back to the beginning of the year when people were laid off, and there were some people who left the company. But we found out later that some of those people left the company because CIG has been basically telling their staff members that they want them to start migrating over to Manchester to work at the main studio. And we've seen several people who have stated that that was just something that they did not want to do. They loved working for the company, but they just did not want to pick up their families or pick up their lives and move to Manchester. And so they left the company. And I'm saying this because I want to know what you guys have been getting from feedback on this too, what you've been hearing. Because I think that people do a disservice to our community. I don't even talk about the CIG. I think they do a disservice to our community when some of these things are posted to inflame people, and whether it's because they just want to get hits, and sometimes we often come up with a great title because we want to draw people in. There's a little bait and switch there. But I wonder whether or not, I'm not trying to talk about any type of ethical journalism for content creators, but I do worry that there are so many people who are involved in this project for passion and they really want it to succeed. And then there are other people who don't share the proper information. Now, maybe they'll say, well, they should go look it up for themselves. But social media is such a powerful tool. And I wonder whether or not the responsibility for some folks. I don't know. It just is interesting to me. So let me bring some folks in. Oh my God, we got a zillion people in here waiting right now. I don't know who is first because I was reading stuff. So I'm going to bring Fast Card in first. Y'all forgive me if I'm out of order, but I'm just going to kind of go down the line. FC.
Hey, yeah, I put the order in Discord for you. So
you did?
So you just go in there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. But go ahead since you're in here.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say is, we talked about this on Thursday, but you referenced the crowdfunding site, the funding dashboard. Last year in IAE, the IAE went from the 17th to the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
This year it went from the 22nd to the December 5th. But people are just looking at the November number where they made 20 million this year. They made 28 million last year. But the first 5 days of December, they made 8 million. So you transplant that for IAE, they equal the amount of money that they made last year for IAE. And so, yeah, I just want people to point that out because, the sky is falling. They're not making as much money. They did. It's just on different days.
That's a good point. No, that's a good point. I wasn't aware what the total numbers were from IAE, but now that you shared that, that's helpful. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that.
No problem.
All right. Fast Cart was nice enough to give me the list of people. So Volt was the first one in. Let me bring Volt in. Hey, Volt.
Hey.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just kind of go down with this most interesting year first. So the investment group, it's for advertisement and marketing. I don't know if they're going to pull out of that, especially seeing. I don't know if you've actually seen, but on YouTube and other things, I think you actually posted one. People are reacting to Squadron 42.
Right.
Really well. They're seeing the video. They're just like, whoa, what is this? So I think the investor group is going to look at this and be like, okay, we can push this a bit more because there is interest in it.
Yep.
About the new citizen enlistment, 2023 was their highest year. I remember a video earlier this year of Morph talking about how he's getting less views and how it's when there's high income players, he's one of the first to get views. So he was like, okay, we're just getting less views. And so it's this lower number, but 2023 was one of the best years. It was one of their biggest years of new people coming in. And 2024 is just a slowly decreasing that. You have to remember millions of people are coming into this and a lot of people are seeing it. They don't know how to get into it. Some people are taken aback. I remember somebody else came on, Luke Stevens. He kind of covers it, but he was trying to get his friends into it and they're like, they don't really like the way that you go about getting into the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was like really hard for them because it's not through any normal means. It's not through Steam. It's
Right.
not like a single purchase. It's like there's a lot of choices, and that can throw people off. So that's definitely probably one thing, is that a lot of the people who would be joining this year already joined.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The sales being down, that this has happened.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen like some slight dips
Mm-hmm.
in the thing. If you go back and actually like look at it,
Yep.
it's just showing compared to last year, and it's like, well, last year was again a big year where people were coming in,
Mhm.
so that also inflated the value a bit.
Mhm.
This is definitely keeping in line
Right.
with last year's ship sales. I'm going
Mhm.
to say it's most likely keeping in line with that. They're looking at the numbers, they know, okay, this is still good.
Mhm.
Squadron 42 being delayed, it's like last year they said that it was just now feature complete,
Mhm.
that they were just starting the polishing.
Mhm.
So that kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
Again, it was kind of tone deaf, but I've talked to some people who volunteered for CitizenCon this year,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Oh, that 2026 date is just like their end all be all. They want to get it out, and that's like the time frame that they're giving themselves to get it all done.
Mhm.
But if they reach their finished product, what they all want for Squadron 42 before then,
Mhm.
they will release it."
Okay.
Is what at least they were telling me.
Okay.
Red Stanton is just messier Stant or like Pyro.
Mhm.
What did you expect?
Mhm.
It's we've all been wanting Pyro, but I think we've all kind of gotten this idea of what Pyro is completely different.
Mhm.
Like, it's lawless Stanton.
Mhm.
That's what it's supposed to be. That's what it was always promised, is that it's a place that you go to for pirates and lawless people to go and do whatever they want.
Mhm.
Piracy occurs a lot here, but as we're seeing, it's the central system.
Mhm.
There are two loops that connect for 1.0, the 5 systems that we're getting.
Mhm.
It connects to Nyx and Castra,
Mhm.
and it connects to Stanton and Terra. That's a 3 system loops that have to pass through Pyro if you want to go from, let's say, Stanton to Castra.
Right.
You have to pass through that. So it's going to be very important of why piracy is a centralized location.
Okay.
If you played the at least past 2 4.0 patches,
Mhm.
they have some bugs,
Mhm.
but nothing insane. It's crazy good of
Mhm.
how like stable it's been, how
Mhm.
interesting it's been. It's like 4.0 so far. Like, I've been talking to people, it's like this is really good.
Mhm.
The backer confidence one is the only one
Mhm.
that has some truth,
Mhm.
but that's mostly because it's like a vocal minority, I think.
Okay.
And so, like, we'll see people like Salty Mike, the people who are very negative, and then people like the info runners,
Mhm.
and even here on Soul Citizens, they're not really like, when I go onto YouTube and I see stuff about Star Citizen, I only see really like 3 major creators,
Mhm.
and then the rest are heavily negative. And of the 3 major creators, one of them reuses and talks about things consistently and just repeats a lot of things, and that's
Mhm.
Board Gamer.
Mhm.
Great videos, but if you see one of his videos within a month, it's most likely you're going to get the same data, unless something like IAE or Invictus is going on.
Mhm.
You're going to see the same data come out from him. So, but he's a really good information.
Mhm.
If you want information
Right.
very quickly, go to him.
Mhm.
The other is Space Tomato.
Mhm.
Really good videos. He goes in depth, and I think he is like the most neutral ground of this.
Mhm.
He does have some criticisms, and he will bring people on and talk with them about some of these things,
Mhm.
even if they are like some of the most negative people. And then the other is Salty Mike,
Mhm.
who is very much negative. He wants this game to succeed, but he brings up so many things that just really don't need to be said. He says, like, it's like he'll say something really quickly to get a video out. And I remember Montoya did this over the what was it? One of the ship sales. It was like a new ship came out, or it might have been one of the nerfs. Something about it where it's the Galaxy incident. That's right. they said they had not made it clear that they just had no plans on making the Galaxy. Salty Mike instantly went out and made a video on it, and then they backtracked themselves a little bit later and said like, "Oh well, we're making it." It's like Salty Mike already put out a video, and it's like, why? It's like he. I think what's happening, and why there's so much negativity is that it's the easiest thing to talk about, it's the fastest thing to talk about, and it gets the most clicks. Like, it's just so easy to do that, and it's one reason why like it's like people just are drawn to it. We are drawn to much more negative. Like, nobody mentioned how stable IAE was. It was a really big event. You have Save Stanton going on at the same time. Yes, Save Stanton had issues. They weren't server bound. There were issues with an Idris spawning. But if you did any other of the Save Stanton missions, you would have no idea that IAE was going on. Any other year, it's like you are having massive desync. This year, very smooth. 4.0 is still very smooth. It's
different people. Here, let me say this real quick because I've got to move forward. There's been different people having different experiences in the game.
Yes.
Some people literally spawn into a station and couldn't leave their hab, and it was repeated. Other people would log into the game and no problem. And I think that stability is, there's a certain level of instability that comes with us being in alpha, but then there are those things that become where you've got one group of people who feel the game is unplayable. And it's because their experience of going into the game is, I can't get out of my hab, or I got to the spaceport and I can't get to my ship. And this game is about flying and ships and I can't even leave. There's a level of frustration that happens, especially when it feels like things are going backward for them instead of forward, right? The forward was pyro. The backward was, I can't even leave my hab. And that becomes very difficult for some players, and understandably so. Just like there are other players who come in, they walk right out of their hab, they walk downstairs, their frame rate is halfway decent, and they get in their ship and they talk off and they come back and say, wow, pyro's amazing. Some people never got to enter a wormhole. Some people entered it and were totally amazed. Greasy Khaleesi cried when he went through, right? So that inequity creates a lot of tension. And the problem is, it's difficult to say, are the majority getting that negative experience or the majority getting the positive experience? And usually, and this isn't a bad thing, the negative side has usually the louder voice. It may not be the majority, but it's the louder voice. And CIG has got to balance that. They need to make it so that the experience when we open, now mind you, wave 1, pyro. Guys, if it's wave 1, it's crap. Okay, it's going to be crap. If you're lucky enough to get the good experience, then you were lucky. But wave 1 is crap. But when we get to wave 3, wave 4, there should be a more greater positive experience from the game. It's like saying if I'm going to be in Evocati, I should expect to go in and play the game. No, if you're going to go in Evocati, the game's going to be crap. So I think that people are anticipating this coming out. They are looking forward to it. They want it to come out, but they're just not seeing enough of the indicators that make them feel that it's not that it's not going to come out, but that it's so close. But those basic things of getting off the elevator, I don't have to even get into anything else beyond that. I'm talking about any of the changes. Just, I can't get out of my hab. And pyro's right here. I'm watching other people's videos and people are flying through the wormhole and people are telling me they went to Monarchs and I freaking can't get out of my hab. That's really hard for folk, So I appreciate we going down all these different things. I think that the person has some issues that are very valid that are here. But the reason why I wanted to share this was, and I know you said you want to go back to this a little bit, was it's a difficult road. We're at a very crucial turning point with this 4.0 thing. There are a lot of promises on the table. I'm not talking about promises of delivery. I'm talking about promises of the next place that CIG wants to go. And it's important that they deliver that, but it's also important for us to give them the space to do it. And I know some people say, we've given them enough space. It's been 13 years. That's just what comes along with the package. And it's I'm not trying to make this sound like it's an easy thing, but one of the reasons why we're sharing this is to get people to know that I started this out talking about, I worry about people who flame our community, who do stuff to intentionally, it's already a very emotional thing. And then you've got people who throw stuff out there in the water for the sake of clicks or hits or whatever. And I think that it does more damage. You know, they may get good numbers and get good views and good revenue, but what does it do to our community in that process? That's my concern. I got to get moving forward because I got to get ready for Paul's show in a little bit. Go ahead, Volt. Make it quick.
I would just leave you with this.
Yeah.
I might seem like very happy about the project. First day I got in, I couldn't even fly my ship. I am the example. I gave it another chance.
Yeah, no guidance. I understand, but there's a lot of us who couldn't even start our ships. I get it. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. All right, let's see who was next. Oh, FC gave me the list here. It was Volt and you. Then Pops. Pops in Space is next. Okay, hey Pops, how are you?
Okay, all right, Griff. I'm gonna try to make this quick as possible.
Sure.
All right, because you got a lot of people behind me. Remember the little story, Chicken Little? The acorn fell on his head. The sky's falling. You know the whole moral of that story is please stop listening to Chicken Little. You know, about the money. Number two, about the money. If they would have sold the BLD, I would have bought one. So there's I have money to spend. They just didn't put up what I want. So there you go. I'm out.
Okay,
bring somebody else.
We'll look for the BLD, buddy. Thanks a lot. All right, SF Serious Fun, Captain Serious Fun, one of our co-producers. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Greetings and salutations. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
My response here, and I don't know if I'll be fast as Pops, but I'll try to be fast.
Okay.
My response here, I'm going to give a couple of examples to make my overall point.
Okay.
One, and my overall point is there's a difference between being a consumer, a reactor, a voyeur, and an informed citizen who happens to be a backer. States of being, right? And this post is an interesting example of that, right? Get out the popcorn because the callers can take their money out. Yeah, they can. From January 2025 to 31 March of 2025, they have the option to do that.
Right.
What's instructive about that? Well, has anybody else had an opportunity to take their money out? Yeah. Eli Klein's Infotrade Group has 277,500 shares of Cloud Imperium UK, and they had the opportunity to take their money out January 2024 to 31 March 2024. So then an investigative journalist might ask the question, did they do that? No, they didn't do that. Right? They declined to exercise their 2024 option. Right? They stayed in. So the first example of somebody having opportunity to pull out, and this is after 318, right? Right. The first example that we had of somebody having the opportunity to take their money out, they didn't take their money out, right? They left all of their money in. And so if we're going to look at the actual reality of things and what actually has happened with the investor class and make any predictions, we probably would make the prediction that people are going to keep their money in because that's the example we actually have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The other thing about budgets, let's say, for example, I mean, if you look at CIG as a going concern over the past 10 years, in 2014, they made $32 million. Right? They have steadily made more money every year. I don't know. In the United States, we have listeners from all around the world, but in the United States, maybe 15% of U.S. adults are entrepreneurs. Maybe a third of them have built an actual business that's lasted, business longevity. CIG's business longevity is clear, right? They have a business model that has worked. And is working. How do we know that? Because of the fact and truth of the matter that it's been around for as long as it has.
Right.
But the fact and truth of the matter that most every year they make more money. Right. So this is a business model that works. When it comes to these other pieces of analysis, the question I have for people, and you've raised some of these links as well, is are you experiencing investigative journalism or are you experiencing reporting?
Yeah.
Are you experiencing investigative journalism or are you experiencing reporting? Right? The objectives of those things are very different. General reporting is about brief surface level information, short-term reactive official statements, the currently known events, not even the currently known facts, but the currently known events, to ostensibly give the audience one-way information implantation, right? Investigative journalism is about exposing truths, right? The rationale behind the rationale, to hold power accountable. I only know of one attempt at investigative journalism, and that was by The Escapist, and that was dismantled as being broken and faulty. Right? So if anybody else has any examples of investigative journalism that has taken a look with objective depth, timelines, rigorous review of sources, notes, right? Breaking original information, right? I'd love to look at it.
I've got some
Until
for
then,
you. In the next segment, I've got some for you. So go ahead.
Okay, good. Good. I hope it meets that
I hope it
those
meets the criteria.
characteristics.
I hope it meets your criteria.
Yeah. I want in-depth analysis. I want accountability focus. I want rigorous fact checking.
Yeah.
I want to wrestle with the complexity and context. Right?
Yeah. That's good stuff.
So for me, there's that. I just would ask people to reflect on what position do they hold relative to the project. And none of them are wrong, but all of them are very different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you a consumer? Right? Are you a voyeur? This person seems to want to be a voyeur, right? We have a lot of that in this culture. People who want to see something at the top or something with any that has done anything fall, right? They're in there for the drama of the fall. They want to watch, right? Are you a reactor? That is, are you spun 5 different directions and are you on a roller coaster ride depending on what salty Mike feels in the morning, right? Or are you an informed citizen who happens to be a backer? Because that's harder to do, right? But I think that's a more, that for me, that's a healthier place for me to be. And I would imagine that's a healthier place. And that requires great information. And sometimes we have to acknowledge we just don't have that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fair.
And we have to wait and see if we can get it.
That's fair.
Right, fair enough.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate the words. Yep. All right. Let me bring in Kaizen. KZ. You there?
What's up, brother?
There he is.
Large multinational corporation hires and fires hundreds of people every year. News at 11.
Yeah.
How is this news?
Yeah.
How is this news?
Nothing new. Yeah.
Anything that has been listed in the news of any kind for the last 2 years has been absolute dog shit. Like, if you want actual news, you have to go beyond the sources that are commonly cited. And games journalism is ostensibly about games, but it's not journalism.
Yeah.
I'm out.
No, thank you for saying that, Kai. I think that both Kai and Cap said this, that journalism, and this is sad because I'm not even picking on Maximum Overdrive or Massively Overpowered, rather. Journalism just is fading. It's just not what it used to be. People don't dig like they used to. Writing isn't the same. It's I don't know. It's disappointing is what it is for me. Fist of Face and Lord of the Drip. And then we're going to take our final topic. Hey, Fist.
Hey, how you doing, Griff?
Okay, buddy.
To Cap's point, Kai's point, journalism, like your point, everybody's point. I think the problem, kind of really boils down to I've heard this saying that folks really doesn't matter what's going on here, what's going on there. It just matters about what I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it comes to journalism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not to get all, gloomy and all that other stuff with all the other things that go on in the world with journalism. But as we know, it's unfortunately to see that, because you have to ask yourself a question: do words really matter today in this age?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because for me, my philosophy is okay, if I'm not going to say it to your face, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm not going to say it at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
if I can call you XYZ behind the camera
Mm-hmm.
and not be man enough to say it to your face,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of things that I think that one of the things that I credit to my dad in teaching me this is that, you know, words matter.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that separates you from an animal.
Yeah.
Words.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. You know, and you know, that's what I said. I don't want to fault any particular media organization or anything like that. I think that the power of social media and what we expect from it is so much different. Something that Serious Fun said a second ago, Fist, was good journalism is about truth. And I know people can get into a big argument, philosophical thing about truth, but truth is about whether it leans towards your bias or not. You know, and so much of what's put out there now is biased, right? I mean, a lot of stuff it leans towards someone's belief systems or whatever.
Opinionated,
well, yeah, right. But I mean, not even opinion. I'm just saying some people will label something a journalist, but it still leans toward. Part of your motivation for doing it is often because you lean toward a certain feeling. Being very objective is very difficult, and sometimes there have been journalists who've written stories with the intention of going in to tear someone down or something down, only to get in and then find out that what they believed was incorrect. Right? They were open enough to say, even though I started this out going in to tear this thing down or tear this person down, once I got in there, I found out that I was wrong. That takes a lot. That takes a lot. And in journalism, because so much is financially driven, right? Telling truth sometimes isn't what's popular. It's not what your audience wants to hear, right? It's not even what your audience wants to hear. So it's very easy to lean in the direction of what people want to hear and confirming their thoughts, right?
It just read my last point, very simple. It goes back to, you know, what you want to eat. And it goes back to what makes you feel good. You know, how something makes you feel. So if you want to eat that food, that's what you want to eat.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Fist. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. All right. Last but not least, the man, haven't heard from him today. Lord of the Trip. LD, what's up? You there?
Hey, Griff, I'm here.
How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
I have kind of a different perspective on this. I think that when you look at Star Citizen, unlike a lot of other games, most people who are commenting on it have very strong vested interest in this game.
Yeah.
And their opinions are influenced one way or another, like in ways that other games probably don't, you know, when you look at the majority of the community. And so I think sometimes when something happens, it is very hard to look at it objectively. And we've seen that. I was actually when the Redeemer nerf happened, I was tuned into Subliminal stream, and he had like a reaction, like a very strong reaction, like pro sig, you know, like to the point where like he was very clearly emotional, and you know, and you know, I was looking at the way the chatters were responding to this, and it made me realize that it's hard for a lot of people to just consider these things in a vacuum. And I would offer this: I want to see the project succeed. So, you know, I'm a financial analyst. So when I look at numbers, you know, I'm looking at it from a business perspective, right?
Right.
And what if you're a CEO of a medium sized to small sized company, then and you see that you have changes happening, right, with your productivity or your income, then you naturally you jump and say, well, why are these things happening? And I think there are some causes there. This is not this is not just, oh, well, people don't have money or,
Right.
anything like that. There are reasons that we've seen changes, and if you look at it, you can tell when the changes started to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the charts year over year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think that, we saw some things happening like at the end of, IAE.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the ships that would normally be, hull limited.
Yeah.
We saw those open back up, right?
Yep.
Because they had funding deficiencies that they had to make up for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I would like, if I were SIG, I would like to see SIG say what is happening. What are the reasons that people feel, at least, that they're more hesitant to purchase these things that they have, been happy to purchase in the past.
Right.
Even with, understanding that there's a possibility that things are going to be nerfed or things like that. What has happened, and how do we right the ship? Is there something that happened in gameplay? Whatever your analysis is going to be, I would hope that they have skilled people conducting that analysis. And that is the only thing. When people throw these things out, these opinions about sales figures and things like that, it's that's, I think a lot of it is motivated by how we want to see those numbers.
Yeah.
And it's easy to look at numbers and to tell a story, to find numbers that support your narrative.
Right.
But we all want to see, most of us want to see Star Citizen succeed. And the people who have the overwhelmingly negative coverage, like if you look at the people who have made a name for just blasting Star Citizen and things like that, I think people take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask you
So
a question? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because you said you're an analyst, and this is my assessment. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's my show, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. We've been so used to each year CIG financially escalating, right? We've seen these record numbers each year. My assessment has always been, as long as they're not in the red and they're profitable. So in other words, if CIG needs 95 million a year to operate, and let's say last year they made 117, and this year they make 108, is that a negative?
So typically you're going to want to see growth.
Right.
At all times, right?
Right.
But there are going to be economic conditions, market conditions where you're going to have down years.
Right.
And like you said, SIG, as long as profit is good, within the acceptable band or range, that's fine. But any decrease will cause investors to get gun shy. It'll cause, management on the finance side, operating side, go into this mode of wanting to reduce costs and things. That's why, like, when I saw the layoffs, I wasn't particularly concerned about them just because of the number, but but also because we didn't get a readout of exactly what they cut.
Right.
I don't know which teams they cut.
It was Q&A. It was mostly Q&A.
It was mostly Q&A. I could see that then. But
yeah, in light of what we saw happen over the last year, which is to your point, you said if we know what those other factors are, if CIG analysis that, well, this is why this has happened. Like, for example, one of the things with IAE for me was the failure of the ships running for 2 days. They only ran 1 day. So to me, at the back end, when they decided to have the additional sale, that was to make up for the fact that ships didn't stay on the floor for 2 days. People went in 1 day and that was it. They weren't exposed. So I thought maybe that was an offset for that. I didn't look at it as much as, oh, we didn't make as much revenue. I looked at it as, here's another opportunity we want people to buy. Now, the other thing was the Pioneer. People were talking about the Pioneer still up for sale. Well, the Pioneer was still up for sale because previously the only ship we knew about that would build bases was the Pioneer. Now, all of a sudden, CIG comes out and shows a mobile platform, shows the build, and talks about the Galaxy. So the demand for Pioneer all of a sudden shifted now because people are like, I don't have to buy that big monstrosity to build my house when I can get a build or I can use my Galaxy. So to me, there were reasons that I felt I saw that reflected some of the things that happened this IAE. Not to mention that, well, there's a whole lot of other things too. But I'm just saying, I think that your point about it's important that CIG and even us, if we're going to comment on what's going on, that we really take a deep look at it and not just surface level. Because yes, we had less new people sign up this year, right? That was a reality. That meant that there was less new money being spent. A lot of people I know who were veteran players were doing a lot of melting, you know what I mean, and a lot of CCU stuff this time around.
Right.
But
Right.
you know, there are a lot of these different factors involved in all that too. So
Yeah.
okay, well, thank
I
you
know
for sharing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, on this note, there are a lot of people that I know who are what most of us will call whales, right? In some of the communities that I game with, there are a lot of guys who have all the ships and things like that. And with the exception of one person, all the rest of them were saying that they're pulling back on purchasing new ships, not because of financial reasons, but because of consumer confidence issues, and they want to send a message. So that's why I wish, I hope that SIG does some sort of internal analysis and tries to figure out how they can kind of right that ship, rebuild consumer confidence, because we want to see the game develop. We don't want to see development slow. We want to see all these new things added and problems fixed, and you need money to do that. So they are making a lot of money, but
progress is an incentive, right? Progress is an incentive, right? And if people don't feel that things are moving forward at a certain pace, then it could mess with confidence. It really can. Yeah. All right, brother. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your expertise too. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Last one. I got to bring in Red in. Red, I got to ask you to make it quick because I got to get on Paul's show to test for my audio in a minute. So go ahead.
Sorry. First of all, the Pioneer is the only one that can make space bases. Like
space stations. Yeah, but everybody ain't trying to build a space station. So yeah, I get your point.
Absolutely. I tried to build my Polaris but that didn't work out yet. No, just kidding. But I agree with him with your previous one on the financials.
Yeah.
Some people are pretty much dissatisfied how they treat things, and I think they have to go and talk to each other what they can do for the community to regain that trust. I mean, it's a trust issue at the moment because they say one thing and then a half year later or a year later they say something different, and they should, if they change something, have either an alternate solution for those people. They had a different insight for that ship, so they can get out of it, or keep their word that it can do the stuff they have shown. Yeah.
Togi mentions this a lot, and I agree with him 100%. He says that their communication on decision making needs to be amplified. Because things, like you said, something goes out there, then something changes, and the backers are like, okay, what's the point? Why? And a lot of times, if we get those answers, if someone takes the time out and say, this is where we're going, or this is what happened, or this is what didn't work, and this is why we have to do this, that there are enough people out here who are mature enough to say, okay, we get it. We may not like it, but we get where you're going. But the uncertainty of decision makings doesn't help. It doesn't help.
But it's like we in IT, we had like a lot of things that we might not do directly because of circumstances. But then we ask the customer, well, if we do this and you can do the same thing, but in a different way, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
I think they should do this more to have like an alternative solution for the people who have this tip or whatever it is to get out of it without costing them anything. And that would be, I think, a boost to trust and morale.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Red. Thank you very much. All righty.
Okay.
All right, gang. Thank you. You guys shared great stuff. Paul has already sent me my invite to jump in his Discord, so I'm going to try to squeeze another 10 minutes in with this last piece that I was sharing for topic number 3. And as I mentioned earlier, the title of today's show was Dissed and Delighted. Dissed and Delighted? Yeah, Dissed and Delighted. And we were talking about how there's some people who feel like their voices aren't heard and they feel like they're being dismissed and not listened to or not, they're just being dissed. And then there are people who feel delighted about the game or delighted about what they do. So I was sharing with Captain Sirius that I had my next part was going to be something a little bit of journalism. It's not deep journalism, but it's my little dig of research. And this title for Distant Delight. And by the way, thank you guys so much for all the chat comments. I was trying to read all the comments. DK Wildcat, thank you earlier for the sub. I saw it pop in and I got engaged, but thank you for that. Also, Rastasan, thank you. Haven't seen you in a bit, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Thank you as well for your sub for 24 months. I wanted to share these with you because in that last article we read from Massively, they talked about the fact that people had left the company and had been dismissed. And so even though people were dismissed, I wanted to share with you some of their comments about being dismissed. Now, I got to do a lot of reading here, guys. Okay, so bear with me on this because there's a lot of reading. But I want to read this to you because there's a couple of testimonies. Earlier, Serious Fun was talking about hearing and doing deep research. And so one of the things that you guys know when you go to court is the importance of a testimony. In church, you know about testifying. Testimonies are important because they're first person eyewitness accounts of things, and we trust those. We lend some type of credence to them, that when someone speaks out about something from a first person perspective, not a third person perspective, but a first person perspective, that there's some validity to it. So I want to read to you, this is from 3 years ago from Gil, and this came from a thread that was posted, and the title of it was, "Is CIG a good place to work, and are the devs happy?" That was the question. And the person basically said, we're always asking, I'm going to read the original post, and I'm going to read to you what Gil said. We're always asking, telling, and complaining and praising the game, but I wonder, what about the vast amount of people behind it? Are they well treated? Are their wages competitive? Are they working in an environment that makes them thrive? And why do I ask these questions? Because I don't like the game. I love it. And I want it to succeed, unlike any other game that I've ever played or liked. This game ticks boxes I didn't even know I had, to be honest. And as happy as it makes me at the current, this is when it was 3.17, before 3.18 came, y'all. I want to know that whoever is on the other side, that they are also happy working on it. Of course, I'm talking in general. Individuals may have troubles like any other human on their job. Anyone can shed any light on this. And Gil from CIG responded to this. And this is going to be a long thread, so I'm going to try to read this as fast as I can. I'm going to read most of it because I can't get through the whole thing. He says, everything I post, this is what Gil says, everything that I posted is in my own opinion. Nothing here is vetted or reflects company policy. You guys might want to click on the link for this because it's a very long thread. Fast Card, if that link's in there, I think it is. You guys, it's like 2 lines down in the post. This is 100% my own personal view. I obviously can't say too much here for obvious reasons, but I can tell you flat out that after working in the games industry going on 18 years, CIG is by far and away the best place I've ever worked, easily. And then he goes on to say some other stuff here. Speaking from the UK studio's perspective, we have incredibly understanding management, what I would consider a notably above average wage for the GI, and a slew of perks. We have fantastic support when it comes to both physical health and mental health, and very fair PTO scheme, flexible working hours, and if everything keeps going this way, it's going down the line when we RTO, I'm not sure what that is, we should have a very fair WAF system put in place whenever possible. They also let us develop with a very good tradition of training and promoting internally. Very early in my career, I was asked where I wanted to go. Within 6 months, I was on the road to exactly that, with resources provided that would help me get there. I'm now one stop short of that dream goal after coming from the very bottom of a totally different ladder. I've made mistakes and screwed up work plenty. I've wasted my days. I've wasted days of my own time chasing dead ends. We all understand that in this industry, this happens, and it's par for the course. In the moments where I've made a mistake, I've been treated more than fairly. Though I'd say a big part of it is that I probably grew up since my first GI jobs, and can now hold my hand up and say, "Hey, I screwed up," rather than arguing and coming up with excuses. A big lesson to learn in the professional life is that one, and nothing to do with CIG, I suppose, even though they are great. Crunch isn't something we deal with very often, but it is an environment where we have quarterly releases, and it sometimes feels a bit hectic. On the rare occasions we do need to do OT, we have a system in place where where you can't be unfairly singled out. You're also fed the local takeouts when this happens. So that's always nice. On-site food and drink is provided for free, and for the most part, we're allowed to interact with backers either on studio tours or on the net or in social media, or like this. For those who know me on Twitter and other places, you've probably seen I spend a lot of time on VR chat and frequently hang out with them, interact with them, and play with the backers in games and others. No other company would have allowed us to do this. CIG treats us like trustworthy adults because of that, and I respect the fairly obvious rules we have in place when it comes to a project like this. So many studios in the UK treat you like a criminal in waiting. CIG lets us be ourselves in and out of work, and those who love the project are allowed to continue loving as a backer, just like you. I'm not going to finish reading because there's more to this, but I'm almost at the end, but you guys can read that when you get time. Let me share some more stuff with you. This is from Molly Joseph. This was from November of 2020. And this is her post that she put up on Twitter. It's bittersweet to say that next Tuesday will be my last day at CIG. I'm leaving to pursue an opportunity that I'm super excited about, but I've had a wonderful time on this team and working with this community. I can't wait to see what the future holds for Star Citizen and Squadron 42. Then there's this post from Jessica. I'll make this bigger so that you can read it a second ago, but this is from Jessica. And this is what Jessica says. This was just last week. In fact, Jessica put this out 3 days ago or 4 days ago. I'll be stepping away from Cloud Imperium Games in January of 2025. It's been an absolute dream working with such an insanely talented and passionate group of people, and I couldn't have more respect for what they're building. There are so many dedicated people behind the verse in Squadron 42 who refuse to settle for anything less than the most immersive and incredible experience out there. I'm excited for the new adventures ahead, and I'll still be cheering from the sidelines and geeking out with all of you. Can't wait to see Pyro come to life in 4.0, and I'll see you there, or maybe at a local bar, Citizen. Fly safe, everyone. I wanted to write that and put that up there because some people have been genuinely concerned when they hear about people leaving the company or being laid off. Of course, there's always going to be somebody who feels a certain kind of way. Because when we lose our jobs, it's not always a pleasant experience. And sometimes we don't have something else lined up. Sometimes we have to make a hard decision. Sometimes the company has to make a hard decision. But Kai said this earlier, in corporate companies, this happens. And in game development, it happens quite frequently. I want to, first of all, say thank you to all the people at CIG who work there now and those who have come and gone, who have put in hard labor and work. When I read things like this reassures me. These are the confidence builders for me that the people who are leaving the company are leaving it and having something good to say. They don't have to say anything. They don't have to post anything. There's nothing in the contract that says when you leave here, make sure you write something good about us. Just like there are people who've written some critical things, but that's normal. But I also want us to be very sensitive to the fact that these are real people who have a real job, who have families, who have lives. And many of them have committed themselves to trying to do the best thing that they can and to make the best game possible out there. And that takes a lot. That takes a lot. And so we want to kind of salute them. Those people who've gone before, who maybe not be there anymore, maybe working at some other company. There's some faces that we know we miss. We miss seeing a Paul Jones. We miss seeing Todd Pappy. You know, there are a lot of folks that have come and gone. Jay Lee. But there are also new faces and talents that have come in as well. And there's also those names that we never knew of that have come and gone. Sarah McLaughlin, a lot of folks that have been at CIG who have gone over a period of time. So I just want to kind of put that out there. That relocation piece, yes, Andy, to your point, and your name, this is Andy. Yeah, the relocation thing was a big decision for people. We watched a video a couple weeks ago from the pilot. He was one of the people who didn't want to pick up and move to Manchester, and he only was there for a year. It was his dream job, but his family's there. Hard decision for some people, right? Some people's positions are only needed temporarily, like Q&A, and once they've done what they need to do, they have to let those people go. But that's just the way the business is. So anyway, I'm going to bring in Red Bear. Red, you got to make it real quick. I have 14 minutes and Paul Shelley is going to be hollering at me because I haven't checked audio with him yet, and I know he's in standby. Let me bring in Red real quick. What's up, Red?
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, I try to make it very quickly.
Sure.
You can go. Yeah, of course, this all kind of happens. People laid off. I mean, it's not only the gaming streets, everywhere. Some go and some come, and the same is here. And yeah, I think the gaming industry is the only one that people get upset or yeah have special feelings with. Like if someone works in a different situation, just well, I don't want to say normal job, but a different branch.
Yeah.
Which is not gaming.
Yeah.
And people leave there, you don't hear anything.
Think about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because the industry's so volatile, because we hear about these big companies, whether it's a Sony or EA, and you hear about like 300 people, 500 people getting laid off at one time. And you say, well, what kind of impact is that on a company? So it's understandable why we, especially because we automatically feel, well, if they've let people go, does that mean they're going to finish the project, or is it going to get dropped? So all these things go through our minds, right, when we hear these numbers. But well,
and well, then you have, of course, Ubisoft. They have big problems.
Yeah, they got big problems now. Yeah,
yeah. They want to have people now also not working from home anymore, but get into the office as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works, and I can totally understand people who don't want to move so much anymore because they have the families, friends, etc. Schools,
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's not easy to move the whole family to another area. So I can totally understand their position there.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Okay. And that was everything I want to say.
Okay. All right, buddy. Thank you very much. Yes. All right. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you for all the things you have shared. Let's talk about what we've got coming up. Podset Saturday. Today is Podset Saturday, where we partner with other Star Citizen content creators, in particular, Paul Shelley, the Astro Pub with the Captain's Table, which we are going to be going to right now. And I'm going to be hopping over there. So if you want to come over and hear the conversation, they're going to be talking about 4.0. Feel free to come over and hang out with us. Later on after that, we'll be going over for Relay SC, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Join the OGs of Star Citizen. They'll be out there tonight also streaming. I want to say thank you for everybody who was here. Tomorrow, we are doing FAFO, Fly Around and Find Out. We're going to be talking about, are we realizing what it's going to take some of these ships out into the universe now? I think that the introduction of the Polaris has made some people really kind of think differently. And I think everybody now, CIG is even addressing this issue of what does it mean to have these capital ships and these big ships, these multi-crew ships to go out into the game. Some ships say, oh, you only need 4 people. But I think by the time you get through doing the math with us, you might find out that those numbers are definitely different. Okay, so we're going to be doing that tomorrow on FAFO. Hopefully you guys will join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us for Soul Citizens at that time. Once again, thank you to everybody who came by, those of you who subscribed, those who followed. Is that Fact Test 007? Thank you for that follow. I'm sorry I missed that when I came in. Glad you're here. Thank you guys, everybody who came in and talked today. As always, you guys take care of yourselves. I got to set up our raid, which I have not done. Let's see if I can get us ready for Paul. Does he have his thing up here? Where's the Astro Pub? Why does he never pop up when I put him up first? He never pops up first. The Astro Pub. There he is right there. All right, we're going to go raid Paul Shelley over at the Astro Pub. When you guys get over there, give him some love. He's prepping the show. And hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for visiting us today. And as always, peace, love. So take care of yourselves. Ciao.